Reframing Mindset podcast, where I clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day.
Hey, welcome back to the Master Podcast. Ah, surely becoming so much of the child, so slowly yeah. But this episode is just so what happened that we're going to this what happened that this year another piece of carbon lens on project I feel that project. Now what happened is that the funny thing is the funny thing is that when you actually pass, you actually pass in the period of charge. That is that is one of the issues we realize is the transition from period of charge. So, for example, you have been really poor, you have been really poor, and you have been draining, but for like water, never have water, pray for that. And then you like, okay, I will pray forward, pray forward, pray forward, and then you get to work and work is not then you have to read this release now, you get to know work, and then the more you leave, you get to work, and you say, okay, I'm going to get to work, I'm going to get a home, and I'm going to get to work, going to work, and you can't even leave your home. Yeah, you get to work, you go to work, and you can't even enjoy it. You don't enjoy it. And every time it's a little bit of time. But you have to leave the work after that. And you get to go to maintain the home. So if you don't get the work, if you do the work to do the maintain the home as quickly, maybe as quickly as it would be now in September. So I think that the phase is that you don't want to mess up. You don't want to be angry with what it is that you did that you did have this stuff. You don't want to be angry with this year. You know that you have to pass in these things. You don't want to go back to the days after what you did that you did have you were not this and doing this stuff. So I think that sometimes better things come. Better things come. You know, you're getting a better thing. Like for example, you're trying back there one day you go back and you have a better cooling system and stuff like that. You're getting something better. Getting something better. What happens is that when you pass this period, you'll be very grateful for the upgrade. You're very grateful for the upgrade. But these these times we can not see this one did help, this one is going on, this one did help, better. Yeah, see this one did help me back in the days. Yeah, see this one did help me back in the days. It's like with everything. So what will happen is that now in the fourth year of kind of recovering and everything like that. So really nice of that. Give my coming up story. Because funny enough, I think I've been always watching that video for me. Because I'm telling you, it wasn't even other people or something like that. So that's the point about customer. I'm doing really back off the shelf and like this and like and that remember that I'm going to create something. So what will happen is that now you reach this far and you have an idea man coming up about the thing about reading and fun. Reading and fun. I love reading and fun and stuff. But in this one of these pieces, rain has helped me a lot in achieving all of my goals. Rain has helped me a lot in this. But what happens now with the employer and things like that, rain, while it still helps me in a certain area, I'm going to somewhat I can actually go back and surpass in a certain level. If I continue, I can pass, surpass, I can pass a freeze of what the rain will do here. Just like, for example, for example, you hear me talking about for one year, you hear me, you hear me talking a lot about farming and stuff like that. And then maybe 1 year after homeownership and stuff going forward, you just never hear me or something like that. You just never hear me talk about farming. You never hear me do that. And what happens is that what will happen, what will happen is that the, the that day we have surpassed that we have done everything, we have used the land in terms of farming to its fullest potential. So it's like the food part aspect like fully covered. So this is the funny thing about stuff. You're coming up, um, you hear me complaining about rain and stuff like that. And things like that. The thing about frame of perspective, sometimes you have to reframe what the relationship you have with that thing that is uncontrollable. Like the rain is naturally is going to come every day. It's going to come every day. And what happens is that the negative aspect of the heat, the rain and stuff like the negative aspect of the rain. So um, there's a reason why you because of the negative aspect of the rain, you actually forget the good the good that is good. It's like for example thunder. Thunder maybe some good view as well. Some good view as well. But it caused me to that thunder caused me to lose my PC. I had to work back on my PC fixed and stuff like that. But gratefully I due to that the now that my PC is fixed and internet now there are a lot of other skills that I developed during my time without that piece and things like that thing that build up my resilience and stuff like that. So just like with everything in this sport you're holding on there's a lot of things that were that needed repair and they're coming up. They're being repaired and everything like that. But this year after ownership the relation what's going to happen going forward in this going forward in this year, going forward, that you can have a different relationship with the things that you had in earlier years. So, like for example, let's say on you about this person and stuff like that, about reading and stuff like that, in doing tasks. But the reason I helped me achieving so much basically. I get coming from your point of view, water is really a great issue, a bad issue. But when I realized in after past a certain period that the water issue is becoming worse because now you have to becoming smarter in how to deal with water and everything like that. And you're using the water efficiently and stuff like that. So that's what the thing about coming out. You're using the resources better. You're using the resources better. But the funny thing about the resource, like for example, rain and stuff like that, it still comes, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. Now, because you're talking, yeah, I finally, I finally understand how to use. water and stuff like that. It doesn't stop the rain. It doesn't stop the rain. And funny enough, if, if for example, and that's the funny thing about coming out about that, if you were to wish, if you could wish that okay, never rain, and your wish would be granted, you would want that. You wouldn't even want that. So what happens is that in this year going forward, what happens is that you reframe your relationship with the things that you can control. You know, for, and this is going to be the first year of like, oh, what happens is that and this relationship is a reinforcing the relationship. You're doing you're doing things and doing stuff different. You get and then each year you do this stuff, you are getting a better understanding of the thing. So like for example, talks or things like that what you do or see or something like you through your experience you have fully you get that getting an understanding as to why that is. So now you hear the study of water and great assisting in 1 year with that is of getting water. But this year of the home ownership, what the rain is assisting them assisting me with is why it's still killing me. It's still killing me. But it's after let's wait years episode to hear me starting to better to hear more with in terms of rain and stuff like that. To hear more in terms of rain and everything. What happens now with the rain, what it can assist me with is making better use of the land in the sense that in my photograph some community is kind of a community. So what happens now in the rain, it assists me at making these communities grow and stuff like that. So this relates to the episode we have talked about one day I may go back around the land and try to clean it up and then what you see is lot of productive plants, lot of productive items. So what happens is that this the root for this episode is that the for for example the first 2 years or stuff like that in this homeownership, the water was really essential for life, and that's the reason I call unofficial ownership here. So the water was really essential for our daily life, essential um, for basic drawing and stuff like that. So that's the funny thing about after leaving the power to the man and talk about things becoming useless, things becoming stuff like that. If you after they start achieving the various levels and going up the civil iPhone and stuff like that. I was actually living a life before that. And what happened is that when you transition, when you're transitioning to the fact that you remember that hey, there was after their life before this thing, there was after their life before the iPhone and things like that. Hey, the iPhone me actually made my life better. And things are going to get more things. But this was the experience. This was our experience. And now I've experienced this thing for a long time. Yes, rain has been a thing I've been feeling for a long time. So what happened is that the rain, even though it was a nuisance, it helped me a lot with um a lot with providing me with a basic need of water. So what happens now in this year of homeownership, this the same resource is going to help me in maximizing food. Food where they're like, okay, now that and this is the field where they're like, oh, this year of homeownership going forward, the land should be way more fertile going forward, talk about reinforcing vegetation and stuff like that. It should be way more fertile and for things to grow and everything. And allow the land can be used for maximum use. What happening that you get the maximum meal, you're eating the best food that you can. And then what happens is that if you have to live from the first year after you have to clean in the backyard and stuff like that, what happens is that sometimes you will see me go back, maybe that much and going back to the backyard a lot more. But every time I go back to the backyard more, I am doing, I am going there for more productivity. I'm going, I'm going there for more productive things. So like for example, productive foods and things like that. If that's the answer going to this, you have to deal with like, hey, I'm going there now, I'm more productive. Less opportunities, but I'm more active, productive, productive plans and stuff. And this is really why don't compare where you refer to another year and like, I remember I when I kind of remember my younger years when I usually go and I do wake up there, that's when you wake up there, and the earlier years if I'm going to do something like that. And I said the home was that home was more developed than we are now. So what happened is that in terms of cleaning the backyard and things like that, it's way easier to clean up that yard then compared to cleaning up this now. It's actually the yard and now to clean this place now. But with the what happened is that back then when I was cleaning it up, when I was younger, it was like a fruit tree and stuff like that. It was actually giving me a lot of fruits, a lot of fruits. It was like a fruit tree was growing up and giving fruits. But it was throwing down two other times. So it was always messing me up in terms of I had to go and clean up the yard and stuff like that. I would do what they are for things like that. And then after I cleaned it up for the little birthday, so the two the land is so that is where it's like the land for the food was great. That food is pretty fast enough that every day I have to pick up and wake up the yard and stuff like that. And that's what I do. And that's what I do. Fast forward now that gets me getting that gets me that gets me and as it develop as that land and stuff like that develop more goals to but what happens is that using that the principle also if you have to look at the land and stuff like that you can put up before those stuff go away the land itself was actually being used productively to get food and stuff like that. So things like nutrition, the nutrition problems growing up would not be an issue when you coming from farming because the land, we're coming from farming and stuff like that. So it's like the land was being used to get good food and stuff like that. So in this year food ownership, the dairy and everything like that. So what happens is that you have to remember everything and foundation episode that we probably started with. There's something that's going on in my backyard. And the rain allowed me to get the maximum yield of tomatoes in my backyard. In my backyard. To grow and stuff like that. So what happens is that now what that our first is your fourth year to that year is that as coming up a lot of changes will happen. A lot of changes will happen. And one thing that the changes will happen, as the changes happen, you and that's what our desire is set, but you have all that things that your food, your food. I like to grow up with something and then with everything we got to know. But and you don't really try to do it, you are not going to do it again before you know. Actually, you don't really try like, the change is somewhat good, but hey, the present is really great as well. The present is really great as well. But sometimes you remember that talking and coming out, hey, the atmosphere is really good. It's really good right now. But hey, we are better to come. We are actually we are better to come than before. We are better to come than we are now. But is really good as well. So um, so what happens is that the CD, the rain assists with it. You grab the lovely relationship with the rain and stuff like that. As I understand it more, you are able to use the rain for its best potential, and then one use of the resource of the rain and getting to use it and less less reliant on the usage and coming out and becoming less reliant on that. So okay, I'm using the rain for this to maximize this, but I'm using less for that. But hey, the rain was not so what happens is that because I'm actually using the rain less for this now, I don't really uh, I don't really need the rain a lot more for this user stuff like that. What happens is that the rain is still there, the rain doesn't stop. So it's like I can't force the rain to stop. And I'm thinking about actual part of stuff like that. The funny thing about the study, the struggle is still there. The struggle is still there. It's just that you actually you pass the struggle, but the struggle is still there. So because the struggle is still there, you have to actually come in there and it's like you have to refrain the struggle and you're like, okay, no, that I have to pass this thing, pass it, more likely I pass this thing. No, I got that and look at me, for this. So at the same way, and I'm the same person, seeing what we are doing so what happens is that with the more productive one and everything like that, the really assist me to get the maximum yield of tomatoes in my basket. So what happens is that as more as the yard is being cut and everything like that, I deal more and more productive tools. The space will be used more productively, where you more productive tools and everything like that. The land, like, the more you go to the land, the more you actually realize that everything is less you need to use it and stuff like that. And then you use that for building stuff and everything like that. So that's the concept of of this stage where the and I guess to be used going forward where with something in one year for ownership and everything like that would be very vital. It was very vital into the first 2 years stuff like that. Then going to the third year, fourth year, you require less. You require less distance as you are putting the work in. And after that, you are working on the same enough. You can afford the resource to supply that too. So what will happen is that now, funny enough, you see me pass a certain period. Maybe like, okay, I'm living this life. You see me living this life is because I put in the work to pass this period. But what happened is that that resource was essential. So let's start what this episode is in this period. The resource is less reliant for this reason. You have be like, okay, I use the water for oh, I guess you take a while. What this episode will be basically saying now is that you see a person, I talk about um, people living a life that they can't do it. So if you go to one side of a home, you see someone at a first world home or something like that. And yeah, built this out using a watering hose, watering and gardening, and stuff, watering out and gardening their home and all. And with water, using water to garden their home or something like that. Then go to our next home, you see a board house, and fence and everything, a fence up everything and all these things and stuff like that. Then go to our next house, we go to our next house, Bordeaux, Bordeaux with the be able to get your water to drink. You be able to get your water to drink. That's the funny thing. Be able to get your water to drink. You be able to get your water to you take a shower. People don't know. The after coming out of all that, you don't even see the word shower. That's the funny thing. You don't even see the word shower. So you think that I guess I should say do that. They don't even say shower. So that's the funny thing after coming out of all the way. And that's the funny thing about it. Where even for another politics myself, you were saying the term now. So it's like so 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 this is the concept going into each year you see the first word and then at the see a certain word, see a certain not poor lifestyle and then the poor lifestyle. You're passing those, you're switching from those two things. So what happens is that is one resource was relevant for this. So it's like what rain was really relevant for you for you to help with things like maybe getting some type of water, getting water, anything like getting water, stuff like that. Maybe still good, helpful for you to get water and everything like that. And maybe it's for something like water and everything like that. But what happens is that now you have better tools. You have better tools, you save up money and everything like that. So that's why all these stuff. You have better tools. So you're less reliant of you having all these sorts of stuff and you say okay, relying on it from this it will be better for you to actually um go and do something else with it. But do something else with the land. If there is stuff like that. You have all these income and stuff like that. So the first phase use of what you are doing is everything like that. You are becoming less reliant on that for that. But at the same time, the rain is still there. But not only that, not only the rain is still there. If you make it reality of the whole market, if the rain season and everything like that goes according to how it always goes, going next year again, you'll get more rain, you'll get more rain and everything. So those dry periods, that dry period when it comes, um, when I actually have to go and use water, you know, I will be less of, of a worry, and less of being a mindset of scarcity because the preparation this year has brought me into the fourth year of like okay, look, I can I can survive this. I can survive this dry spell. I can survive this dry spell because I can start this year and stuff like that. So what happened now in this field going to the fourth what would maybe the 50th would be the 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 water, the rain would in the rain season. I said this rain season. I guess that's what this, this rain season. The best use for this rain to make the land help the land for food. You know, get the most upward food for food to make it grow as much food and stuff like that. I think I can remember I read some. stuff like that. So maybe next year now I get some other more functional when I was in my so all of that will be due to the from this season, actually, and then going next season, I will less reliant on the rain for that for that. And then maybe next year, what happens is that you'll see me maybe say something like, okay, I less reliant on the rain for I'm less reliant on the rain for I'm less reliant on the rain for food, and stuff like that. We'll be more towards for the flowers. And also, for beauty kind of thing. It's good for helping you beautify the physical and things like that. Everything like that. Then, boom, obviously, I don't really come up. Happens now. And one day, my little season, one day long, I thought it was a hope with the hose, water, and something. And then, actually, using the natural manual water and stuff like that. Eventually, it's just like, so it's like, what happened is that, um, if you see me go in one day living that life and everything, the the, the small things would be a small step towards where I didn't have these other people to stuff, but I was taking my time using these basic things. I was actually taking my time using these basic things to create max potential and then um, making small progresses, at each one. So actually, this is it. Before the other one is on. I guess as more I'm doing the video podcast, it's just I don't know and stuff like that. The episode is like that kind of but so this is the episode now where I guess this kind of episode is that the rain from this year is less less likely to use being use less for the basic things like soil, getting water, getting clean water and stuff like that. And more towards the other thing like getting planting food and getting stuff like that. So that's basically the concept of the second the basic um, the together and everything like that. Whereas with you have the lovely with the still have the people who going forward with this year going forward and doing that. And better understand the weather that in relation to where I am at. In relation to where I'm at. But at the same time while I'm after getting understanding the weather better and using the weather to its best potential, it's assisting me with providing me the basic needs. So it's like, yeah, so that's basically what this episode is saying. You see me you passing the words of that field, but the field is still there. So I can use the resource or the American nature for a different reason. And then you follow that and go on. And I said, these are I will think about when I'm coming up where like right now the people listening in the concept and stuff like the rain season. So that's the difference coming up and I'm growing up and I'm growing out of that growing up praying for rain. I said, building my home was really, it wasn't really easy. It wasn't really easy. It wasn't really easy. So the rain season it was really important for like taking water, for like for like construction and things like that. So that's the point here about cutting up and stuff like that. The lesson of the poor is I listen from the poor is they feel like I can't compare my poor here stuff like that. So man, I listen from the really sometimes I will be people talk to me. I was after remember year and all that and fire and stuff like that. For construction and stuff like that. So what happened is that maybe 1 year that home and stuff like that. You need that home that you never need for construction. Never really have to focus on the rain season, crying for rain to do like construction because it's gonna get efficiently slower and everything like that. To care for it. But what happened is that um, while if she passed that, if that home, for example, passed that struggle, I'd say, okay, yeah, we don't worry about what, for example, that home. They say, oh, we don't worry about water in terms for that home in terms of food or something like that. We worry about water now in terms of construction, we want to build up this and that. In my phone or shit now. So I would say, okay, I don't really rely much on the water now. Water is helping me with things like soil and stuff like that. But now there's really now is after helping me to food, looking at food, plant, food and stuff like that. Then the next year, we do all really important to me now for example, food and everything like that. I need to get my flowers. I need to get my flower, my beautification thing up and everything like that and stuff like that. And then and then what happened is that then 1 year now really they say, okay, yeah, I don't need this now, very now for a beautification. I need it stuff like that. I need to see like enough water, if I don't look at it, I need sun and everything. I got them all these stuff. And then I don't need the really set up anymore. I don't really set up anymore. So what happened is that the important stuff, lesson from this topic. The rain season is always gonna be there. The rain season is always gonna be there. The summer is gonna always be there. So what happens is that you use the EQ of the homeownership, your relationship with the weather change, with the weather change, you're like, oh yeah, the weather, ah, yeah, you know, you help me here, help me here. Okay, I don't need this for this type of struggle and just but I need it for this struggle now. And then boom, I don't need it. Then the next year I don't need it for this struggle again. I need it for a next struggle and focus and everything. So that's how you basically going this year that okay, this year the whole thing is starting to more off afterwards, vegetation, fruit and stuff like that. So I'm plant them and listen to rain season, the rain season. Every day I wake up I could always count on the rain. I could always count on the rain. So because I could always count on the rain, you know, uh, that's the best use of it. During during the circumstance, during the circumstance. But if then 1 year if you don't using that still like then the rain different maybe anything. So that's a different thing I think that it's kind of abundance, the abundance is great. Can the abundance is great. I was like, oh yeah, this is the season really like the abundance is great. For example, like we're making a lot of money and everything. I was like, oh, you know, yeah, I was wanting money from this. The more I was there, like, as I mentioned before, the people are going to put because the clear, you know, we established the lifestyle of sometimes this year, in terms of we're making out of money, or you don't want to go back to the and feel like making money. Or just like, okay, we're not making money for this couple again. I'm making money for this couple again. For a different reason. Okay, we're using money for this reason. So that's the people that have a interest in working. Just working for a different money. But the money is for a different reason. To enhance this. Enhance, and I believe we are talking about internal investment and quality versus quantity and everything and respect the price. Once you start with purposely, quite vertically, you're entering the mindset, you're entering abundance because you're with purchases. You know, you're not making a lot of money and everything like that. But you're using the resources that you have there. You end up in a surplus because of the great purposes with the living that you have made. And then with the living that you have made, you're surplus. You're in a massive, you're in that time, abundance as people actually. But what happens now when you take that in a feel of abundance and because you're in a feel of abundance, you will say something like, okay, yeah, I don't need the ring anymore. I'm out with the partner together and be like, I don't need the ring anymore for this one. I've been putting in the work, you've been putting in the work, and I said, like, I can go and buy one and all this one. Okay, yeah, that's it. After I realized, oh, the ring should come every year. Every year from now to this, the rain season comes every year. It's always gonna be there. So knowing that what you can do is actually freeing your relationship in each year. So okay, this year it was really important for this. Then now it's not really for this. It's like for example one day you see video and talk about the birthday of one man. When we talk about now electricity as a thing, I just need to talk about this electricity. I am going to become a servant officer, home and then officer home. And what happens is that each you have to hold the phone and slowly but surely the whole land is becoming really productive. Like so it's like you're less of the work of the struggle of doing that work and more productive things you're still doing and then maybe really talking about a lot of work and stuff like that. Then you see more play and then you see more play and the land and all this stuff. So what happens is that they refuse what happens is that nothing will change about anything any of the situation and stuff like that. It's just that you build a different relationship with with what you can accomplish. When build a different relationship with what you can accomplish. So and that's it. Just like for example, then I talk about then keep coming up electricity, housing, I think coming up changes and all this stuff. And then I come from is that okay, be mindful of how I use those stuff like that. Now, it's still a struggle, but I'm using all those words that is just potential and and what would be a struggle is not would not means that many people will curse and be like, oh my god, and that's funny how when people come and that's the friends that will come up and many people curse and like, oh my god, it's such a problem, I want this thing that when I see the people trying to walk about it, it's really important, this is important, maximize stuff, really stuff correctly, and so yeah, so that's basically the I went to that bank, but the main essence was here for this episode. The main essence for this episode is that the really, you know, as before we are playing on shift now, funny enough, if you have to remember, last year was a hurricane experience. So sometimes, somewhat it's taken from the experience, from from the days, from that day, after the hurricane, not being with that a lot of subjects on it. So I start looking at it, and then I'm working on it. So I started looking at it, I think is that the whole thing is getting better and better. I start becoming so official, being more official towards the whole. So I have been that more and talk about places in the communication and I said less of the ways as the whole, as the way coming up with start to do less of the ways as the whole and more of the character manifestation. Changing the character manifestation. That's the color. So like for example, when you was really for example, when you was really character coming up now one day really like okay, I always have what function I want to have like that. I always think I'm not different. This was not always this was always the piece. Look at tools and this stuff. No, this was not always the piece. So um so as a bigger podcast everything is a different thing. Is a, so the that's just the essence of this episode. It's gonna be something like that going forward for each year where the struggle um that has been mentioned 1 year because I learned there was lessons and everything. It's becoming less of a struggle. That was that after becoming less of a struggle. And at like okay, that was a piece. That was a piece. And stuff like that. So that's basically most of the thing parts. The parts with the relationship and stuff like that. Most of the stuff. The everything is getting you're passing the rules of the board and the board passing the board so what we don't pass it we don't pass it with everything if you actually start see you living somewhat successful in life and everything like that. So these were struggles that they were doing back then. They were deeply of ownership, the unofficial time, the unofficial time, unofficial time. I said these are unofficial time. It's like, hey, and you can compare that, funny enough, where we don't have the official time. I talk about people who are making time where we don't have the official time. You know, it's Christian. But we are doing the official. We're doing the right stuff. We're going to do the right work for the right stuff. And, and using the resources at your best potential. That's where the coming from. We're using the resources and to your best potential. So, this is what we're going to do now. Very, very use for help with vegetation. So one year now, you need and it's your okay now. Very stuff like that. That we use for this the uses of the rain that we different each year. And then we have that this is something about time of abundance here. Because you know that these stuff are coming out stuff like that. The uses of that resource will become less reliant, even though you know that he is always coming. You know that he's always coming, but but you know that the resource is always coming, but um the the you are past that stage. You are past that stage. That's the case with a lot of stuff where you're passing the words you're passing the words of this like, oh yeah, this was the struggle coming up. Now you know that okay, you don't see one stuff like that, here's the kind of time. Here's the kind of time. But there's in the way it's in the way past. Other thing like that. You don't worry about that. Now you don't have to worry about it for everything. You got this. And the important thing for this episode is that you have to realize that as the landscape, the resources, your, each year, your building the resource doesn't change. The resource doesn't change. It's just that you're using the resource for a different thing. You're using the resource for a different thing. They becoming what will happen is that they become more official. I guess the important thing for they becoming more official in each area. So what will happen is that one day you hear the fire in the background. You hear the fire in the background. One day you hear something like here or one day you see something in the whole house. You do change. I don't really know what's changed to that issue, but we have a better coding system. Better coding system. We're still doing the same thing, using the same concept from each year, using the same concept from each year, or stuff like that. Maybe just that, using the same core principles here, we need to cool ourselves and everything like that. Establishing nothing important and everything like that. But we are doing it better, we're doing it in better quality, and stuff like that. We're doing it in better quality. So that's the concept. Yeah, the reason why the reason is always gonna be here. It's gonna be easier, but this year a whole month should be really important for this phase. And we have a lot of issues coming up with this phase. But then this year year now, but in the fourth year going to this year, you know, as of like, it's less reliant on that issue. It's less reliant on, it's less of an issue with in terms of that. It's more so because it's gonna be always here. You're going to you can reuse it for a different use. It's not gonna change. It's always gonna be here. It's always gonna be here. But you can use it now for a different, to enhance a different area of your home life. Where okay now it's good for vegetation. This year for home life. So maybe 1 year now you see more signs of okay now with vegetation and the water is really good for vegetation as of that. The other stuff they don't have to use the water and stuff like that. It's very good now for beautification. Maybe that year water. It's very good now for beautification. For beautifying the home and stuff like that. Beautifying the home is not a good for us. So, what happens is that the reason I anything that the people change, that nothing will change, the reason is always going to come because that using this that reputable reinforcement relationship, we are using the same thing for a different purpose. We're using the same thing for a different purpose. But what happens is that we hear the purpose of that thing. We're not using it for that thing this year. Hopefully, we use it. Just like, for example, I just started reviewing watching the YouTube video on how to do the, the exercise and stuff like that. Just having got the word, the sitting down to gym, get the word and stuff like that, to get the membership and stuff like that. Hey, those vibrations and phone that totally the same thing all day and stuff like that. We're trying to get that stuff to the same. Trying to get away with the same. So that's basically for this episode here. Your whole membership where the changes that will happen. I guess that's the thing about the that's how when I go to the backyard, it's more productive plants. It's more, you see less of unproductive plants, unproductive and more productive plants. It's actually going around more and you're like, okay, yeah, I see more productive things not to get rid of than to get rid of. And stuff like that. So it's like going and stuff like that. So less of the unproductive. You're using the land to its max potential. You're using the land to its max potential, to the maximum yield of it. And then what happens now, you have someone like, be like, okay, I want to do some renovation. Good. You have to have the best use of the land, after the landscapes. Get the best use of the landscapes at that point, before the changes happen. Now, that's coming up and stuff like that. Hey, those changes will have, those changes are going to be inevitable and stuff like that. So that's the first thing when you see that going. Oh yeah, you may have to like this to your phone and stuff like that. Still you're gonna come, how you gonna get, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate the change, but it's for the better. The change is for the better. But this is not the necessary. The change is going to change for the necessary. That's a problem. For example, you never really rely on nothing at all. So, like, never really rely on the rain. Rain solve every single one of our problems. Rain, no, no, like every concept that you hear me talking about rain, never hear that. Never hear that anything about vegetation or something. Just a nuisance, you know. As I said, hey, it's a different it's all different. So that's basically it for this episode. Then the core essence for this episode is the really is going to use less for navigation and showing us a kind of more towards specification. And the goal is that we're working towards getting the garden, some gardening areas and the areas, things like that. As a kind of the productive plant, productive farm. There's a road to the productive farming. Like we have used that random inside the random farming area. Gladly I can even come into the backyard now and guys we call what we call random farming where the crop came up luckily luckily and sometimes they wasn't targeted they would go down the line for we climb and I know that it's gonna come down and we will know that. But now that it's clean up very full and the now is assisting us in helping us here. So what happens is that the rain I'm not really believe that the rain was good. The rain was helpful in this aspect of my life. Now it's actually not needed is needed less kind of for this aspect of my life. Now it's helping me now in this aspect of my life. So now the rain is not running like one hour that way. Now it's helping me in this aspect of my life. So that's the basic essence of it. That's the basic essence of it. It's helping me here. So that's this part of this episode. Thank you for listening and we'll talk about it.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page Reframing Mindset Podcast or on Twitter @ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.